Welcome back to Train With Us. Today we're going to talk about PPE, or personal protective equipment. Let's get into it. All right, first thing we're going to touch on is what is OSHA's requirement when they talk about PPE, or personal protective equipment. Their requirement is what they call the least restrictive. So what that means is if I am mixing chemicals and I'm afraid that it's going to go into my face, I would use something like safety goggles right here. So when you're thinking safety goggles, we're thinking eye protection with safety goggles. If I'm looking at something that I may want to protect my entire face, that's when I would use a face shield that would cover my entire face. Not only do they cover your eyes, it also limits the ability for it to come around the plexiglass and come into your eyes. So I'm wearing glasses right now, for example. While they're glasses, they're not safety glasses, because if you notice, I could get something stuck on the side of my eye or it could come underneath. These do provide limited protection, but as far as OSHA is concerned, they do not provide adequate protection when it comes to mixing chemicals, dealing with stuff over your eyes or over your head, or even dealing with bloodborne pathogens, things like that. So a good set of safety goggles are the number one thing you guys want. Next thing we're going to talk about are gloves, nitrile gloves. We use these in the industry constantly, every day. We probably go through thousands of them a year. These are nitrile single-use gloves. These are not gloves that you would use to wash your dishes at home and then hang them up to dry. Those gloves will breed a lot of bacteria, which will also spread infection in any type of environment. Yes, that means at home as well. How do I put these on? Well, very simple, putting them on, pulling them down over my hands, and this would protect my skin from things like chemicals. Disinfectants is a big one. Blood, things like that. What is it not going to cover? It's not protecting my hands from cuts and things like that. That's when I would use these type of gloves. If I'm working with something that could possibly cut my hands, wrenches, tools, I'm scraping something, let's say gum off the floor, and whatever I'm using could be sharp and could go through skin. That's what I'm using these type of gloves. Is it possible to use both? Yeah, you could use a regular working glove and a nitrile glove underneath it. So gloves in both manners are very important to have as a franchisee around the house, because there's many times I know that I've used something that I didn't think would cut myself and I've cut myself. So having these gloves are another thing that protect you from liability when it comes to PPE. And a lot of people overlook that. So we're talking about gloves. Here's the next important thing. How do I take these gloves off? Well, I've seen people just grab at them and then they grab at them this way. That's not how you want to do this. So I showed you how to not take them off just by grabbing them and then grabbing them with your clean hands. Let's show you how to take them off properly, because a lot of people don't realize that there is a proper way to take off your gloves or your PPE, what we're talking about, that personal protective equipment. You don't want the bacteria, the blood, whatever you have on these gloves to be touching your clean skin. So this is how you need to take them off. You're peeling them to the inside. So your dirty glove is in your dirty glove. You're not touching your clean hand. So now it's inside out and this part of the glove is clean. And you're gonna do the exact same thing here with your clean hand on the clean glove, and you're pulling them out, and then you're touching the clean part of the glove, and you're just gonna go ahead and dispose of them. Now let's look at your footwear. These are rubber boots. A lot of people overlook this aspect where they remember, okay, I don't want to get that chemical on my hands, but they don't really think about what's getting on their feet. So you're going into, let's say, a dumpster enclosure and spraying it down with a degreaser or a disinfectant, and you're getting your shoes soaking wet. That's when these boots come in. These are gloves for your feet. Not only do they keep your feet dry, they also keep your feet from having harmful chemicals, or like we talked about, it could be vomit, it could be blood, whatever's in that area. So get yourself a good pair of rubber boots. And if you're mixing chemicals and have the outside chance that maybe I'm gonna get my feet wet, you're gonna use these. If you're doing floor care, things like that, you're gonna get yourself a good pair of rubber boots. So I wanna thank you guys for joining us on today's episode of Train With Us. And again, PPE is important whether you're a franchise owner and OSHA is having that liability against you to make sure you're training your employees properly, Or if you're at home and just want to stay safe, personal protective equipment is exactly that. It's your equipment that protects you from harmful chemicals, environmental dangers, could be bloodborne pathogens, whatever it might be. Always have that in your arsenal to be able to supply your employees or have it around the house just in case. And again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on our next episode of Come Train With Us.